Breaking news just minutes ago, former FBI Director James Comey entered a not guilty plea to federal charges. He is accused of lying to Congress and obstructing a proceeding related to the FBI's investigation of Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Comey was charged just days after President Trump publicly called on the Justice Department to prosecute him and other political rivals. Back with us is CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez and CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. But first, I want to go to crime and justice correspondent Caitlin Polans. You were inside that courtroom. Take us inside the hearing, Caitlin.
Well, Pam and Wolf, we had Jim Comey sitting in the middle of his two lawyers on one side and Lindsay Halligan, the U.S. attorney, sitting at counsel's table in the middle of two line attorneys from the Justice Department in the courtroom. You don't often see that. The U.S. attorney herself in the courtroom looking at the judge, shaking her head yes every time the judge was asking questions of the government. And actually, the way that the judge spoke to the government is something that you don't see very often in a case like this either.
Former FBI Director James Comey is in court, and Trump's prosecutor, let's just say it did not go well. U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, a former beauty queen and personal Trump attorney with zero prosecutorial experience, had to make an embarrassing admission in front of the judge.
Historic day here at federal court in Alexandria, Virginia, where James Comey, the former FBI director, came to court and pleaded not guilty to two criminal counts, two felony counts, once for making a false statement in a 2020 Senate hearing, and also for obstruction of that congressional proceeding. One of the first things that will be happening is motions by the defense to get rid of this case, to toss this case. And there's a number of motions they're going to make. One of them is the selective and vindictive prosecution motion. This is accusing the government of misconduct in bringing these cases. And that's in part because the president of the United States has loomed large here. About 2 weeks ago, the president went on social media and called for Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, to bring charges against James Comey and a number of his political enemies. He fired the former U.S. Attorney, Eric Siebert, who oversaw this office here in Alexandria, Virginia, in part because Siebert and prosecutors in this office were reluctant to bring some of these cases against Trump's political enemies. He fired him.
Here's the background. Comey entered a not guilty plea to charges that he lied to Congress and obstructed an FBI proceeding related to Russian election interference. The charges came just days after Trump publicly demanded the Justice Department go after him. But the courtroom drama wasn't about Comey. Halligan revealed that out of more than 100 attorneys in her office, not a single one was willing to help her prosecute the case. She's had to bring in assistant prosecutors from another district, always a good sign, lawyers who openly admitted they weren't ready and even suggested delaying the trial until July.
These AUSAs going in and telling judge, we don't really have all the details.
Right.
We're new to this. Having been in court and worked with tons of AUSAs over the years, I've never heard of that or seen it. Probably not what a judge wants to hear. I'll put it in the category, I arrested a bank robber when I was a very young agent, and the defense said that my client was drunk when he robbed the bank, so he shouldn't be held culpable. My jaw dropped, but this is really just about as impressive as that was. I just have never seen that before.
The judge, unsurprisingly, denied the request and set the trial for January. Legal experts called it stunning and unprecedented. One former FBI agent described the admission as jaw-dropping, saying he'd never seen anything like it in the decades on the job.
Now to a federal judge's rebuke of the federal prosecutor in the case against James Comey. Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas is here with the story. Good morning, Pierre.
Michael, good morning. That federal magistrate judge offered a blistering assessment of the U.S. Attorney Halligan's performance before a grand jury in seeking those indictments against former FBI Director James Comey. The judge claims there's evidence that Halligan made fundamental misstatements of the law that could compromise the integrity of the grand jury process. Specifically, the judge claims that Halligan told the grand jury Comey did not have the right to avoid testifying at trial, something guaranteed under the Fifth Amendment, and that Halligan told the grand jury it could consider evidence not before it and could surmise that the government would have more evidence at trial. The judge also raised concerns about whether the specific indictment returned in open court was the same indictment before the grand jury that it deliberated on, raises serious questions about the government's misconduct in the case.
The prosecution itself looks equally shaky. The case hinges on alleged leaks Comey may have authorized, but much of the information in question wasn't even classified or related to the Hillary Clinton investigation, which the indictment cites. Selective prosecution claims and factual holes make this a tough case to prove. Even the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney Eric Siebert reportedly refused to bring the charges because he didn't believe they could be proven.
Gasps in the courtroom. Gasps as a federal judge raised serious questions about Trump loyalist Lindsay Halligan. Today's hearing lasted more than an hour, and a ruling from the judge could come at any time. A ruling that may conclude that Lindsay Halligan, who has never tried a case in her career, is not qualified to serve in her job and is legally not able to be in her job. And that means cases against James Comey and Letitia James could be over. Out front now, former Trump White House lawyer Ty Cobb. So Ty, this was an important day. The hearing just over an hour about Lindsay Halligan and whether she's allowed to be in her job. Will Halligan be disqualified and her indictments tossed out?
She will be disqualified. The Comey indictment will be tossed out. And may not be able to be rebrought because the statute of limitations has lapsed. The James indictment is likely to be tossed out as well.
In short, Halligan is prosecuting a case no one else in her office would touch, making her appear less like a legal professional and more like a PR stunt. Conservatives and liberals alike are pointing out that under Trump, the Justice Department has sometimes become a tool to settle political scores. And this case is yet another glaring example of that problem.
Halligan has come under intense scrutiny because she has no prosecutorial experience and was appointed after her predecessor was forced out by President Trump after he refused to seek indictments against Comey for allegedly lying to Congress. DOJ is refuting the allegations and is appealing the magistrate's ruling.
Wow. In all your years, have you ever?
This is different. We've never seen judges, this aggressive in challenging what the Justice Department has done before the court.
If those questions pan out, this case is going to get thrown out.
Yeah, let's see if I can.
Potentially. There will be appeals. You never know how these things are going to work out, but Comey is seeking to have all the cases against him dropped.
Now that Comey has formally entered his plea, motions from the defense are expected and the real trial work begins. But one thing is already clear. The courtroom collapse is humiliating. The case is weak, and Trump's attempt to weaponize the DOJ has landed in total chaos. Now, at the end of the day, the question isn't whether Comey can defend himself. It's whether Halligan and the prosecution can survive the spectacle of their own making, or whether the system will ultimately call out the absurdity for everyone to see. Once again, I'm Adam with Liberal Hub. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button. And what the heck, why don't you click subscribe? We'll see you next time.